All right, everyone, Alex Comstock here at GetZone.com. In this video, I kind of want to talk about the basics of how to read deer sign. You know, it's something that kind of gets forgot about, just the fundamentals really, the basics of just reading deer sign. I just want to go through a few things. You know, it's the spring right now that I'm out looking for when I'm looking for deer sign. The first is going to be obvious, and that's just going to be deer trails. Where are the deer moving? You know, if you're looking for deer trails, usually in the spring before green up, you know, it's really easy to see. They're just going to be, you know, pathways through the woods pretty much. You know, you're going to have spots that are deeper and darker with mud. You know, obviously, hopefully you'll be able to see deer tracks. You know, if you've got a trails that have been used for quite a bit of time, you might be having deer poop on these trails. And when looking for deer trails, you know, I'm really looking for that, and I'm looking for areas that they crisscross, because if you find intersections of deer trails, these can be great spots for tree stands in the fall. Because, you know, if you're just set up on one deer trail, your odds of, you know, shooting a deer come in the fall are going to be a lot less likely, where if you're set up on a spot where maybe 3 or 4 trails come together, you know, because a deer could be on any one of those trails coming through, and you're going to have a way better chance of getting a shot in the fall. Other things I'm looking for when you're reading deer sign is looking for things such as scrapes. Scrapes are open areas in the ground, you know, and usually when you're coming through an area that you see a scrape, there'll be an opening scrape on the ground, and there usually will always be a licking branch above it. You know, I've got a few scrapes here I'm going to show you where you can see the licking branch above the scrape. You know, these are great because these are areas that deer are using to communicate through the fall. You know, not only are bucks making scrapes, but does are checking them out as well. And these are great spots, you know, mark if you've got like something like OnX maps or any type of mapping application. Don't be afraid to mark these spots, because they can be great for trail cameras next year, for hunting over them. You know, I really love scrapes, and they're just, you know, a good indicator of what's going on in the area. Another thing that I'm looking for are rubs. You know, rubs are really easy to see. They're going to be on trees. You know, they're going to be, you know, a tree's going to be rubbed up. It's pretty, you know, self-explanatory. And for me, you know, when I'm reading these, it's not necessarily about how big the rub is, but maybe how tall it is. So if you've got rubs that are pretty tall, odds are a bigger buck made that, because bigger bucks are going to usually be taller than smaller bucks. You know, and if you've got rubs that are really, really ripped up, you know, that could indicate that a buck has a little more torque to it, a little more strength. So these are things that, you know, I'm kind of keying in on, are deer trails, rubs, scrapes. So those are the main deer sign that I like to read. And as you start to get a little more advanced, something definitely that you can be checking out and looking for when reading deer sign are beds. Now, beds could be certain areas, just like general bedding areas, but if you can actually find deer beds, it's gonna be matted down areas. There might be some poop in it, there might be rubs around the bed if it's a buck bed. You know, and these beds can really give you a good indicator of where deer are spending a lot of their time. So if you can take these beds and figure out where the trails are coming from out of the beds, you know, maybe leading into areas, maybe if you can scout some areas where, if you know, reading deer sign where they're feeding, such as, you know, it could be ag fields, it could be food plots, and then kind of just combine all this information in the spring to use that in the fall is really going to help you. So hopefully these tips help you with reading deer sign as you're out there scouting, you know, in the spring and in the summer.